It'd be very much like this. I know that there are many of us who are music fans, and I would imagine in this room I've got a few Gaither fans. Anybody? Anybody? Just two of us. Great. So we've got Gaither fans who love the Gaithers, and they really enjoy them. I was in Atlanta not too long ago, and this made me think of this. The Gaithers are going to be in concert pretty soon. And you've got this idea of the Gaithers and how they connect with people. Now, there are some of us in here who are not Gaither fans, and that's okay. It's okay. We'll work through that later. But there are some of us in here who like bands very much like this band from Ireland named U2. The lead singer is a Christian, a follower of Jesus, and some of us really do like U2. And so what I would like to imagine is this. We find out that in Atlanta there's going to be a concert where the Gaithers and U2 have joined together. And they're going to have this really big show for us. And if there are any of you who are lost in this illustration because you don't like the Gaithers or U2, it's going to be opened up by some of the guys from American Idol. So we've got this huge show. So we decide to make our trip to Atlanta together. So we get out the buses and we begin to drive the 100 miles or 7.5 hours that it takes to get to Atlanta. And as we're moving towards Atlanta, we're really excited, but then there's part of us that's not really into it. We just know we're supposed to go because we're excited about the concert. So we get there, and there's this crowd of people standing outside. And it's probably 100,000 crazy people loving the Gaithers. Some of them in suits and ties, really excited about singing about Streets of Gold. Some of them in leather jackets and sunglasses, excited about singing about streets with no name. We're all really excited about who we want to see. They're even selling T-shirts with Bono and Jim Gaither, or whatever that guy's name is, on the front. And they're selling corn dogs outside because corn dogs are awesome. And they're selling them for $12 a piece. And they're really taking advantage of you. So you begin to walk up as the doors open. And you're having to deal with those people, let's be honest, if you've ever been to a concert, the people who try to break in line in front of you because there's just a mass of people there. And people are walking through. And their tickets are being scanned, or if it were 1998, their tickets are being torn. You walk up with your ticket, and they scan the ticket. And when they do, rather than walking in, you turn around and walk back to your car. And you sit there for the next 3.5 hours. What's the problem with this? You have not experienced the reason you made your trip. These Jews who were approaching the temple for the sake of knowing God and expressing love and affection to God simply were handing an animal to a priest, and it was being sacrificed. And nowhere in their heart did they look at this animal and say, "Dear God, that should have been me. That sacrifice took my place." Just a routine. Very much like what we see in modern Christianity at times. Because as we look through this passage, we'll eventually realize that Jesus says, "I'm the temple." And we see that we are able and we are enabled to approach God because of Jesus. And we are able to express love and affection for God simply because of Jesus. And there are so many times that in the way that we approach God, it is just us saying, "I've said the right prayer," or "I've done what Christian people do. I show up at a building on Sundays. I show up at a church on Wednesdays. I pray a prayer before meals that I pray before every meal." Never approaching God and saying, "God, I have an affection, a deep-seated affection for the love and mercy that you've expressed to me. Dear God, the sacrifice of Jesus should have been me." Do we have an affection for Jesus? Do we look at Jesus and see where that's something that takes place for our sake? Or are we going through a routine? The passage tells us this. to those who sold the doves, verse 16, get these out of here. Because you're making my Father's house a market. There's no difference in what takes place here, Jesus says, than in what takes place in markets all throughout this land. Get this out of here. And in this we see God very much taken for granted, and the love expressed to us through God taken for granted. Because God is just someone that we consider when it's time for sacrifice. God is just someone that we consider when it's time to go through a difficult situation. I've been a parent for 19 months. My son, Shepherd, is very interesting, and I've realized a lot of things. I do things now that I would have never done 3 years ago. Like, I watch Elmo. But Elmo I've experienced him simply since Shepherd. And I'll dance sometimes in front of the TV. It's okay. In the language of the New Testament, the word dance means dance. But I really do struggle with that some. Shepherd makes me dance some. And I change diapers. I change diapers, and diapers change me. Like, that's kind of what happens there with Shepherd. And I realized that because of Shepherd, I do some really weird things. Like, I show more affection to stuffed animals than I ever really thought I would. Like, Shepherd's got a couple that he really does like a whole lot. And here, I brought them with me, actually. This is, stay with me on this. This is Shepherd's wolf puppy, who he's named Dog, or Dog, because we think he's going to be a country music singer. This is his wolf pup, and he loves Dog, and he's really one of the ones that Shepherd spends a lot of time with. So with Dog, here's what happens. He shows him affection. And there's another one that he spends a little bit of time with, and his name is Roscoe. Roscoe's a rat. If you can't tell this, he's wearing a vest with a button that looks like a slice of cheese. And Roscoe is someone that Shepherd loves a whole lot too. And here's what happens in the morning. I go and I hear Shepherd making Shepherd noises, so I stagger into his room and wonder why in the world you would wake up that early. And when I walk in there, before Shepherd lets me pick him up, before Shepherd lets me change his diaper, he shoves Dog in my face because he's not getting out of bed until I kiss Dog. So I kiss Dog. It's weird for me. And then before I can react, he hands me Roscoe and hands Roscoe to me, and he expects me to kiss Roscoe, and I'm just being truthful. Kissing a stuffed rat is weirder than kissing a stuffed dog. So I kiss Roscoe, and then Shepherd gets out of bed. And we walk over to the changing table. You guys stay here. Good. So I take Shepherd to the changing table, and we change the diaper, and something weird happens. Like, he grabs Dog, and we go to the living room with Dog. And Shepherd is eating his food, which usually consists of a waffle or oatmeal or something like that. And while Dog sits there, Shepherd really wants to feed Dog. And then Shepherd is drinking from his sippy cup, which are the most fantastic invention ever. And he wants to give Dog some of his sippy cup. And then Shepherd sits down for his few minutes of Elmo, and he sits there with a blanket on him, and he wants to cover Dog up. And every now and then, Shepherd really wants us to put a diaper on Dog, and we had to let him know very quickly, Dog's diapers are to be made of paper towels. So throughout the day, Dog's very important to Shepherd. And then the weirdest thing happens that when night rolls around and it's time for him to go to bed, we put Shepherd in the bed, we cover him up. We put Dog beside him, and we cover him up. And then he wants or likes for Roscoe to be beside him. And we cover him up too. The problem being this: throughout his day, Roscoe's received no consideration. Roscoe's shaped none of the meals that Shepherd eats. He's not been thought of when Shepherd's watching television. Sippy cup, Roscoe doesn't really get that much. Roscoe's just there for a time that he checks off in the morning, a time that he checks off at night. And every now and then through the day, he gets a little bit of attention. But Roscoe has really no authority in Shepherd's decisions. He has no effect on the things that shepherd does. He's just there for shepherd when shepherd wants him to be. Jesus deals with a group of people who had made God into this. Yeah, we need to make our sacrifice. Yeah, we need to think about you and Passover and Tabernacle and all that happens. But there's no real consideration for the love that God expresses to them in what takes place at the temple. And sadly, what we find with believers is very much the same thing. Yeah, Mom's sick. We're going to pray harder than we prayed last week.